What's going on, people? In this video, we're going to talk about Yoshimitsu's Samurai Cutter, aka Sword Sweep, and how to deal with it. For people not familiar with Yoshimitsu Anti, particularly this move, hopefully this video can help, since I really don't see a lot of it talk about this move in a lot of detail on YouTube. So what it is a full crouch down forward 1, 26 frame unblockable low, instant tornado launcher, it hits from around range 2, and it avoids highs, does not hit ground opponents, and it's weak to sidestep right. Yoshimitsu's objective in landing Sword Sweep is to minimize your ability to interrupt him while also minimizing your ability to escape and punish. So let's talk about the different situations in which you can encounter Yoshimitsu's Sword Sweep, starting with in neutral. In neutral, you can discourage sweep primarily in two ways. One is active movement. Its long startup allows you to sidestep or backdash out of range as Yoshi's trying to place the attack. Opponents with minimal movement become really vulnerable to Sword Sweep. The other way to discourage Sword Sweep in neutral is to use your quick pokes and use your aggression. Because you can use these pokes, this will beat out his Sword Sweep in neutral, and he's not going to bother wanting to try it unless he has a good amount of plus range. The other thing too is because of his startup, it becomes very useful to use your counter hit moves if you have any good ones that you feel confident throwing out there. But in general, being able to put on some pressure to Yoshimitsu really helps against having him use Sword Sweep against you. The other thing I would caution besides using the highs is to make sure that your offense doesn't become too predictable, or else you'll start being able to use flash or spins or something like that. So that's in neutral, but the most likely scenario when Yoshi's trying to go for a Sword Sweep is when he's actually up in your face with some amount of plus frames like this and able to crouch in your face. And this can either be in an Oki situation, this can be after blocking a move, or landing his own move that leaves him a bit plus. But the closer he is and the more plus he is, the more successful or the higher success rate is the Sword Sweep. So there are multiple options to deal with the imminent threat of sweep, but they each come with an asterisk. So the first option is to backdash away. And this is obviously character dependent. Some characters have better backdashes than others, so there's gonna be some amount of privilege with being able to backdash, but it is one of the safer options to do if you can manage it. The asterisk is that not only is it character dependent, but it's also dependent on your wall geometry, right? You obviously can't backdash if you're too close to the wall, so that really limits your options. And sometimes you'll have to know, depending on which move he even got into that position with, is if you even have the frames to backdash in general. But generally speaking, backdashing is a pretty good option. Except for that time. Now, to specify backdashing, not like backdash canceling really quickly, because you can really get caught in your backdash from his other moves coming from that. So I definitely needed to make that distinction. When I'm talking about safe moves to do, I want to say that in conjunction with his other options that he can do besides Sword Sweep. So when you're talking about a full backdash, you can still block while you're able to escape in certain situations. The next option is the one that a lot of people recommend, which is to react to the Sword Sweep itself, usually with some kind of low crushing move like a generic hop kick or some other thing like that that low crushes. And the thing about that is that it needs to be done very, very quickly. Otherwise, you still get caught by the sweep because it might take a while for the jumping animation to take effect. And this varies between move to move. Like a hop kick is going to be different from like that jumping move versus doing like a can cancel like that. So some options are going to be better than others. But that's basically what that option is. So you see the sparks and you react to the sweep by doing your low crushing move. Now, I'm doing this in practice mode. You can do this all day, just looking for the spark and just doing it just like this. But in the real match, that's a lot harder to do, right? The asterisk is that it's really difficult, and it takes some practice to really being able to do this comfortably and composed in a match, because you have to deal with mental stack, you have to deal with input delay from hardware, from your internet connection. So it's not exactly very easy to do. Reacting to the unblockable charge effect is the legacy way of telling Sword Sweep from other moves, besides the little shuffle that he has to do because he has to, crouching forward for a small input time. But it's the legacy way of telling that the Sword Sweep's coming as opposed to any other move that he's doing. Um, and it's legacy because it's traditionally a very bright purple effect. But in a previous video, my commenter noted that the color can actually be changed in modern games, so it can be changed to a different effect, shape, different colors, and that can be very hard to see against certain backgrounds, which is a pretty big drawback if you're looking specifically for those charge effects. That's something that I really hadn't considered up until that point. So, if you're looking for just the if you're trying to react to the sword sweep and you're looking just for those charge effects, that might be an issue that you'll come across. Is that something that I hadn't come across yet? But the possibility is there, and I guess in order to safeguard against that possibility, you would need to react to the animation of sword sweep itself. Um, but I find that extremely hard. I personally cannot react without the effect animation. So, maybe you could tell me if you can, but personally, I can't. I can't say I can recommend, yeah, stay in practice mode and drill, looking at the sword sweep without the charge effect because I personally have not been able to do that. Although I haven't really done that much training myself, but I thought it's very much worth mentioning. In any case, there really could be no leeway in the reaction, and whatever your response is going to be in order to interrupt the sword sweep and react to him, it really needs to be automatic and committed to muscle memory. Every character has different options that can low crush and interrupt his sweep to various degrees of success. So what I really recommend doing, I think it's very critical that you kind of check out practice mode, check out your character, see those different low crushing options and what you can commit to muscle memory. Because I think it's very critical that you're going to be able to do that in the heat of a match, where you don't even need to think about how you do it. Another thing I need to note is that even if you get to a point where you can react to sword sweep, I still don't recommend waiting and giving Yoshi enough respect to do so in all the situations where he can sweep you, because he'll be able to start running his offense, and it's much easier for the Yoshi to use different moves to slow your reaction than it used to be consistently composed in order to react to it. So I think there needs to be a blend of those options. The last option, besides movement or reacting to the sword sweep, is basically making a read on the sweep or just straight up disrespecting him. The idea applies. You try to do a low crushing attack, or you do a mid, or whatever it takes that you feel like Yoshi's gonna go for a sword sweep, and you just take him out of it. Since there's a chance that your read will be interrupted or punished in case Yoshi does not go for the sword sweep, and he's trying to do some kind of mental mix-up on you from crouch, you may opt to do safer options depending on your character and your level of confidence. But each of these options have their own downsides, and again, not one of them should be done 100% of the time. That said, there is an option that works nearly 0% of the time from what I see, and that is meeting Yoshi under the table, crouching against Yoshimitsu's crouch. And you might know that this is a fight against your instincts because when you see a character crouching in your face, you're expecting some kind of mix-up. But in Yoshi's case, there's not a lot of threatening lows that he has. His best low is his down forward 4, crouching down forward 4, which gives a counter hit launch and is also launch punchable on block. So, but besides that, he has his unblockable sweep, which obviously you're not going to be able to block. At the same time, crouching really limits what attacking options you have, although you'd probably still have some depending on your character, but it also guarantees that you're not going to move. So yeah, while you may be able to do some kind of a counterattack for it, if Yoshimitsu sniffs you crouching, then that leaves you exposed to a lot of different options that he can hit you out of crouch. So, in my opinion, it's definitely just not worth it to crouch in his face like that as a reaction to his crouch. So, in order to override that instinct, that's why I'll just reiterate how important it is to have that option on deck for when you want to disrespect Yoshi or when you want to make a read on him, that you have something locked and loaded as muscle memory to combat the sword sweep. So now let's talk about knowing when to look for the sword sweep, because the context makes you primed to make that tight reaction, or at the very least, make a better read on him doing the sword sweep. Because again, it can happen at any time, but the closer he is, the more plus he is, the better position he is to attempt the sweep. So what we want to do is like develop a spidey sense for when Yoshi is going to go for a sweep, and we can make better reads. In all cases, he'll be doing sweeps in places where he expects you to respect him. One of the more basic examples is Yoshimitsu doing Sword Sweep after a Heat Engager. If you don't have a wall behind you, then it'd be great to do a full backdash cancel, get out the way. Just be careful that if you do a short backdash or a scuff backdash, it won't be enough. You want to be able to do a full backdash, and that will give you enough clearance to do it after a Heat Engager. Another situation to watch out for is after a low block. Yoshimitsu doesn't really have much up until 14 frames, so besides that, he really gets his while standing 4 guaranteed for 13 and below. While you're waiting to get punished, Yoshimitsu might just opt to go for a sword sweep and cheese you that way. So just be careful of that possibility. Another one to watch out for is after his down back 2 strings. So that's after forward 2 down back 2, his down forward 1 2 down back 2, or his while standing 1 2 down back 2. These are not exactly plus on block, but since there's not a lot of pushback and he recovers so quickly and crouch and up in your face, Yoshi can do a sword sweep on you, especially if you're respecting him a lot. Just be careful when trying to punish this and anticipate the sword sweep by doing a quick mid check, because he can flash out and block if you try to do like a quick mid when he does 1 spin. When he does 2, it does not get work. The next set of moves that can be used to set up Yoshimitsu's sword sweep is after his cancelable moves. So this is his up forward 2, his Kincho down 1, and his 2-1 back. So each of these, they can be canceled, and the sword sweep works here in order to throw off your timing of the punish or the hit, and that's where you might go for the sweep. These moves are actually a little, especially with up forward 2, they are a little bit long in terms of the animation, so I don't see these in neutral as much, but especially expect them in Oki, and they could be a sword sweep situation as well. Tangentially related to those cancels is his down forward 3 1 string. So when you just do down forward 3 by itself, Yoshi actually enters a brief crouching state where he can actually do while standing moves without the crouching animation. This applies to sword sweep as well, so you might not see that small shuffle that you're used to seeing before sword sweep comes out. You can just do it right from that kick. His down forward 3 setups is great for Yoshimitsu to use in Oki situations, but just know that if you happen to block it in neutral, that sidestep right block covers a lot of his options, including sword sweep. Finally, let's talk about Yoshimitsu's sword sweep tech trap. As a tech trap, it's not a matter of preventative counterplay or making a reaction, but rather making a guess in a true mix-up situation on whether to tech or not. When timed correctly, teching will allow Yoshimitsu to sword sweep the hit because, as an unblockable, you have no time for recourse. Again, if it's timed correctly. If you don't tech, sword sweep will whiff, but Yoshimitsu has other options that will hit you off the ground, making it a mix-up. My only tip for this situation, and is an important tip, is to not assume that because you're waking up into sword sweep that you've automatically fallen for the trap. Yoshimitsu might be late, and you're only going to be able to punish him when he's late if you're ready. Did you know that this example also is a mistimed one? Before we wrap up, let's quickly talk about the no sword stance version of the sword sweep. It has similar properties, comes out in 26 frames, maybe a little bit less in range 2 this time, but it's no longer unblockable and also no longer has the unblockable hit effect. The catch this time is that it's a double low. The first hit launches for a full combo instead of an instant tornado like the unblockable version. However, just the single hit by itself is negative 16 on block. Punishing the first hit is a bit of a risky read though, because the second hit is not interruptible. So it's safer to low parry or just block punish the second hit, being -14 on block. When it does hit, though, by itself, it gives a +14 for Yoshimitsu, which gives an automatic heat engager or a wall splat depending on the situation.
Almost forgot to mention, the double low causes a floor break on hit, so be on the lookout for those on those floor break stages.
The countermeasures for the unblockable version apply here as well, but it's a bit of a different mix-up in no sword stance. Remember how I said not to meet Yoshi under the table when he comes up to you threatening sword sweep in one sword stance? Well, it's a bit of a different story now in no sword stance because now his sword sweep is blockable, but also he now has the threat of his down forward three, his full crouch down forward three, which he can mix up with his while standing flash. He can mix up with his hop knee. So now you have legitimate unseeable threats when Yoshi's full crouch in your face. So, no sword stance full crouch Yoshi, probably his deadliest stance up close. So even without the unblockable sword sweep, every effort should be made to kind of keep moving and to try to keep him out. And that's about it. Hopefully this anti-guide on Yoshimitsu's sword sweep is helpful. Not only did we go over the sword sweep itself, but also the situations where we would want to place it, as well as some of the more common moves that complement it and help set it up, so that we can use the context to make better reads and reactions. If you have more to add, feel free to comment and help others out with the matchup. But otherwise, thank you and take care. Peace.